The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
And welcome into the Ingles studio. It is the Sportsocracy, and I'm Tank Spencer. Jeremy Greene is here as well. And guess what? The Underwear Olympics are in the books. Jeremy got to nerd out all weekend long, and you were tied to every 40, every bench rep, every vertical leap, weren't you? Just everyone.
I do love the Underwear Olympics, but I don't love them for the same reason that a lot of other people do.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of takes coming out of this week in Indy, and the only thing I can say is, Tyquan Thornton. He still can't catch. You do get that, right? Like there are three very tangible parts to play wide receiver. Being stupidly fast, okay, that helps.
Mm-hmm.
If you could catch a cold in a freezer, that would be tremendous, and he cannot.
Right. I have always thought this is the most overrated thing in the history of time.
And it is in a way, but it's not in a way.
And I understand that. It has its place. You want to know what these guys are physically capable of. I understand all of that. But the massive swings of, oh my gosh, Kalon Barnes just ran a 4.23 at the combine. Okay,
put on the BYU tape and tell me you want to draft him.
Right.
I'll wait.
New phone, who dis?
I'm just telling you right now, if your opinion, and some NFL team's opinion has changed drastically, I promise you, he will now go in day 2. And I'm going to tell you, okay, maybe he could improve every technique deficiency he has. It didn't strike anybody as weird that he ran that fast. The only problem is that he is one of the laziest corners in this class. He only has speed to rely on. Okay, none of this is new information. He's still not a very good corner. If you want somebody that's just track fast, hot, you should start sending your scouts to track competitions and shit.
Like the Las Vegas Raiders used to do.
How'd that work out? Yeah. Darius Hayward Bay on line 1.
That's the one I will never forget. I don't think anybody will ever forget that.
Neither will I, because there are a lot of people like me going, you do know he still can't catch, right? Yeah.
The Oakland Raiders are up at 8, and they take some guy you've never heard of.
I mean, you'd heard of him.
You had heard of him.
He was a third-round guy.
Right. I mean, he was a good receiver at Maryland, but he wasn't top 10 in the NFL draft good.
Vernon Golston. That's the one that still sticks with me. Oh, you look like Tarzan. Oh, shit. You play like Jane.
Second fastest 40-yard dash time, though, in the history of the Combine for Kalon Barnes. It is something to hang your hat on and say I ran the second fastest is fine. But should it be something that teams just completely throw out their book, throw out their big board of corners and go, okay, now he's at the top?
No. He's still a 6th, 7th round guy. That's who he is. Now, since you wanted to start with Kalon Barnes, we'll start with corner, because there was a player at the Combine that ran, and it confirmed everything I already thought. And now this guy's probably he's probably a beginning of the second, late first-round pick.
Who?
Tariq Woolen.
Oh, the kid from UT San Antonio.
I'm going to level with you. I might take him over Derek Stingley right now.
Really?
I might.
Okay. Just because of the 40 time? Or?
No, I already liked him a lot. So I already had him as a second-round pick in the first place. So now I've seen him at 6'4", coming in and run a 4.26 40. Everything he did this weekend was good.
Mm-hmm. His arm span measured 79 inches, which is what you see in like offensive linemen.
It's pretty good. Yeah, that's 6'7", in case you were curious. I mean, for me, worst case scenario, he's a really good free safety in this league. Best case scenario, he might be the best corner in this class, not named Sauce Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, San Francisco, that's who I had him taking in the second round. You're not getting him in the second round now. Sorry. He is, and he's a target that I'm telling you, and I've heard this all weekend long. So I had guys on the ground in Indianapolis, friends of mine feeding me information. You know what I heard a lot? There are going to be a shitload of trades between about 22 and 32. Probably won't be one in the top 10. But there are going to be a bunch on that, because there's a lot of teams that are interested in that in the backside.
Mm-hmm.
Just specifically for the quarterbacks, but a guy like Tariq Woolen is a really good target there.
Okay.
He had a great week. Zion McCollum from Sam Houston State. To me, he probably went from that 5-ish range, probably the back end of the third, because he is hyper athletic, but he also had a good week. Interviews, a lot of things went really well for him. Other corners, Allante Taylor had a good week. Virtually every person I talked to mentioned him at some point. So he's a guy that now I think is in that back end of the second day range. That's where he should go. And I really like him. Now, conversely, guys that, well, it didn't quite go your way. There were two corners. Jermaine Waller,
who ran a 4.8 or something.
4.68. He's still a ball hawk. I just think he's a safety.
Yeah.
You can see things like that and go, okay, maybe it was a bad day. But you did it twice. And now we'll see at the pro day. He's going to run again, I'm sure. I don't see it improving tremendously. Michael Wright out of Oregon is another guy that I heard some dings on. And to me, that did not change the grade much. Kobe Bryant, he didn't run particularly fast.
Mm-hmm.
But I had him in the beginning of day 3 anyway.
Well,
he's one of those that was a great college player. And it was aided a lot by the fact that he had Sauce Gardner on the other side. I'm not saying I don't like the kid. I think he can come in and start right away in most defenses. You just can't really expect him to ever be more than a good to average 2.
Right. In your mind, a prospect cannot make his grade with a 40.
Well, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater of what you've seen for 3 years.
Mm-hmm. But can you do that if it's a horrible time?
Jermaine Waller was a guy I had in the 3rd round. He's got very good ball skills. To me, I see 4.68 and go, you're never going to play corner in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not that much of a swing. It's not like you're a 4.45 guy and you ran a 4.68 at the combine.
Right.
Did you fall down?
Oh, I had too many donuts the other day, and now I'm 0.2 of a second slower.
Yeah, and he measured about like we thought he would. He came in just over 6 foot tall. He's light. So now, to me, a guy like Jermaine Waller gets pushed down because all of the things I saw on him, now you go into the NFL, receivers get faster, the game gets faster, and you're not going to.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's in the 5th round range. Kobe Bryant, to me, is now in that 4th to 5th range, but that's where I had him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Other guys that, the testing didn't jump off the page to you, but I liked what I saw. Martin Emerson from Mississippi State, watching the drills of him, I just really like the way he moves. I think he'll be a player in this league. And Joshua Williams out of Fayetteville State. I liked a lot of what I saw from him.
And it was good to see that some of the guys at the top of the draft did very, very well.
Sauce Gardner's a freak of nature, and he's going to be a top 10 pick. I told you that 2 months ago. Well, now everybody else does it.
Right.
That's why you keep it here.
But
because I'll tell you shit before you know it.
Right.
Before anybody else does.
Right, but that's just it. I mean, a guy who, probably came into the year as a back end of the 1st round, maybe 2nd round
he will not
type
fall
of a
past
talent.
Baltimore at 14.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that he's going to last that long is if a rumor comes out that he has a bionic foot. Or I'm trying to think of what horrid thing could come out about him.
Right.
That's the only way he's getting that far.
Right.
I don't actually think he's going to get past the Jets at 10.
Your guy, Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame, he did very, very well running a 4.59. He did really well in the position drills from all of the experts that I have read of the, the recaps of this.
Well, he's a unicorn. I mean, 6'4", 220. He compares favorably to Jeremy Chin. He's not as fast, but, we knew that. I think he's going to be a hybrid linebacker in the league. That's how I evaluate him. And, now the question – one of the questions that I have coming out of the draft or coming out of the combine, we did our head-to-head mock draft last week, and I had Kyle Hamilton at 10 to the Jets and Kayvon Thibodeau at 4. I still think that could happen. I just think you're going to have to swap the picks.
Kyle Thibodeau.
Hamilton at 4, Kayvon Thibodeau at 10.
Kayvon Thibodeau's falling.
He had a shitty week. Oh, but he ran fast and put up a bunch of reps. Yeah, and every person that talked to him didn't like him.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. That was a universal thought. And conversely, everybody that talked to Kyle Hamilton went, you know what? I just like this kid.
Yeah.
That does play.
Yep.
And since we're talking about safeties, a couple guys that had good weeks. Nick Cross at Maryland, I think he's a special teams guy. He's very fast. 4.34 for safety is really, really ridiculously fast. I just don't want a team to overreact of you're that fast and physical and you did have a good week. It doesn't change what I've seen. I think you come in as a special teams guy. Percy Butler, I feel the same way, the safety out of Louisiana. To me, this guarantees you get drafted. It's a question from there of how high, and does somebody put you in a bad position? Of the guys that we know are going to be drafted, Lewis Sin, Dax Hill, and Jaquan Brisker, they all had real good days.
Well, I mean, maybe there's just some sort of, an advantage that guys have coming from the national champion Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh, no, you have a hyper-athletic defense.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, to me, it should have been very predictable that these Georgia guys were going to go nanners. Mm-hmm. Now, did I expect Jordan Davis to run a 4.82? No, I didn't.
Nope. But Lewis Sin, 4.3, 740, 36.5-inch vert. He had an 11.1 broad jump. It all popped off the page. But of course, it was Jordan Davis running a 4.78 40 that everybody went.
Yeah,
how in the hell does this guy who's 6'7" almost? He's in between 6'6" and 6'7", and he weighs 341 pounds. Was it 46?
It's 346.
346, and he runs a 4.78. Oh, by the way, this former basketball player also has a 32-inch vertical.
Oh, and by the way, one of my guys was sitting next to somebody with a stopwatch that had him faster than that.
Yeah.
He had him at 4.76. So, I mean, it was a freak of nature, once in a lifetime kind of.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he did incredibly well. They think that his broad jump of 10 feet 3 inches is the record now of the combine for a guy over 300 pounds. And then you had Trayvon Walker and Devontae Wyatt both showed out as well. So all of the Georgia guys did really, really well.
Kind of.
Did their interviews go badly?
The Georgia guys did well. Jordan Davis helped himself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Lewis Sin helped himself a lot. The Nakobe Dean, a lot of people were impressed with just him, but that is not a new thing. Trayvon Walker did not do himself any favors.
Okay.
He did not interview well. There are some character concerns, and he's not the only one. All right. So
who else? Please tell us who else.
Sam Williams. Sam Williams is an edge from Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I have heard is that probably half the teams in this league don't even have him on the board. I mean, he's first round talent.
Because of how he interviewed?
No, because there's been character issues with him since day one. There have been some comparisons to people that you do not want to be compared to.
Right.
One specifically that played with the Carolina Panthers and now is a UFC fighter.
No.
So yeah, those are not things that you want to have attached.
Yeah,
to
that's
you.
one name you don't want to hear.
Yeah, and he did not. He didn't do anything to squelch that. Smoke Monday had some of those, not to the same extent, but he had some of the same problems. People walked away from that going, yeah, that's not something that I'm jumping up and down about.
Right.
I mean, the Georgia guys showed really well. If we're looking at defensive tackles, just because that's how we started here with Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Davis had obviously a very good week. People are overreacting to Marvin Leal. This is what's so funny to people like me is that I told you that DeMarvin Leal could fall a month ago. People had him in the top 10, and I went, that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you what's going to happen. I can tell you what's not going to happen. He's not going to go that high. I had him in the middle of the second round, and that's about where I think he goes. I had him going to the Denver Broncos, and I could see him going in that mid-40s. But this is one of those things where people had the evaluation wrong, and now they're overreacting to, he didn't test like that. No, he tested like what he is. He tested like what we've known him to be for weeks. Mm-hmm. There were questions about him from Jump Street. He confirmed a lot of those at the combine. Now I think he's mid 2 to late 2. The talent is still there. It's still very obvious, but there are concerns that the workout brought out. John Ridgeway.
You're a mountain of a man. Yeah.
Who's shocked?
Right.
I never said he was hyper athletic. I said he's strong as a fucking mule. And he is. None of those things changed. I didn't change the grade on him at all. The one that I would worry about is Neil Farrell from LSU. he did not work out well, and he was undersized anyway. So that does make me a little bit nervous.
Okay. All right. So DeMarvin Leal, also, let's talk about the edge rushers. Because
Amari Barno. He's on line 1. He's fast AF.
He rose he rose up on a lot of people's boards with his performance this week at the Combine.
How could you not? He ran a 4.3. There were 9 times faster in the entire Combine than his.
Yep.
At 6'4", 260.
4.36 was his official time at the Combine this past weekend.
And that's a position where it matters. All right, the fact that this kid's that raw fast means I can just do all kinds of things with him. He's not a finished product. He's not a guy that should go in round 2. I'm afraid he will. But there's just not many people that are that big that are that fast. So I can take the raw tools, sculpt them, and now we have something.
Now, wasn't he originally on your Chase Claypool list for this year? I thought he was. I mean, it's been months since we did that list, and I thought his name was on there as well.
Yeah, he's. There are certain teams that I love to pick on, and I would, if I was working for a team, I'd do the same thing. USC, that's the one I've always historically said they're not coached particularly well. I don't think Virginia Tech guys were coached particularly well.
Mm-hmm.
Amari Barno is one of those that in the right situation, I think he could come in and be really good. You just got to be patient. Boya Mafe, he's a back end of the first round guy now. It's just the way it is. If you want him, he's going to be a target because he has crushed the pre-draft experience.
Mm-hmm.
David Ajabo, he's done a really good job. Jermaine Johnson, that's a guy I want to talk about because I can tell you right now, I watched him do the linebacker drills. I watched him do everything. If you put him hand in the dirt, he's a first-round guy. And I know that Green Bay Packer fans were upset that I gave them a receiver instead of him. Oh, you can wait on a receiver. Well, not as much as you think, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Jermaine Johnson's not a stand-up guy. He's a 4.3. I would love him with the Jets. I would love him with the Eagles. There are a slew of places he could go that I would really like him. I don't want him standing up. That's how he got washed out at Georgia, and that's how he wound up at Florida State. Why would I take tape where I've seen you not be as good doing something with then you go into a different scheme, and now you're ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Why would I revert you back to what I've already seen you not do well? That makes absolutely no sense to me. Other edge guys, Kayvon Thibodeau did not have a good week. He just didn't. He didn't.
Tested well.
He tested fine. People did not like how he came off. He had it was described to me as he is not a team guy. So I do think Thibodeau's going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he would fall past 7 of the Giants. And I'm pretty damn sure he wouldn't fall past 10 to the – let's say that he did get past the Giants. I don't think he would fall past 10 to the Jets.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the drop-dead spot for a lot of guys. Oh, here's the thing. They only have one pick. So I'm going to say this about a lot of guys, and if they all fall, then some of them are going to fall past the Jets.
Right.
Dominique Robinson. That's a name I have to say. Good God, I love that kid. Started as a receiver. He was a wide receiver 2 years ago. Now he is a gigantic defensive end that ran a 4.72, and he has a 41-inch vert. It's just dumb.
I mean, it all started off with a bang on Thursday when the quarterbacks.
Well, hold on, there's another edge guy before.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Kingsley Eningbare.
Oh yeah,
he didn't test well. He's going to go about where I thought he would. I think I had him in the back end of the second, beginning of the third. I can't remember exactly where he fell, and that's where he's going to go. He's the exact opposite of a height, weight, speed guy. He has the intangibles. I've seen the production. All of those things are good. But he's never going to be overly fast. He's never going to be overly athletic. I think you're going to have to scheme him specifically. I do not see him as a 3-4 outside linebacker. A lot of people do. I think you're dooming him to failure if you do that. Other than that, I thought Nick Bonito had a swell week. Jeffrey Gunter, he tested pretty well. Logan Hall, that's a guy that now I'm going to have to do more digging on because he tested in a way that the tape does not reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been a bad week. He could have been, and some guys do that. They show up here, they put so much pressure on it that they either show up a little light, they show up a little heavy, whatever the case may be, because they're trying to put their best foot forward. I want to see him at the pro day, but there was not a lot to love about his week in Indianapolis.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody likes the 40 times are the big sexy thing. It's the big, sexy
the thing that matters the least, by the way.
It's the big, sexy thing that everybody wants to focus on. Oh, my God, look how blazingly fast these guys are.
And now there is a position, since there's one position left on defense, and you mentioned the 40, we can talk about this here.
Okay.
There were 4 guys, I want to say 5, but I just don't know what the 5th guy is. There were 4 guys that made themselves a lot of money, and they all play linebacker. The first one's Troy Anderson. I am now as drunk on him as Scott Cutshall is because he played quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and linebacker, and then ran a 4.42. Mm-hmm. This kid's so unbelievably talented that I could actually see him playing both sides of the ball. He's a freak of nature, and there will be a team that really looks at that Swiss Army knife side of him. And yep, I don't think he makes it out of day 2.
Right.
The tape does not suggest that because he's very raw as a linebacker, but there's just not many people that are this athletic. Christian Harris, he had a phenomenal week. Kind of squelched some of the problems that I had. He was way faster than I thought he would be. I mean, he played fast on tape. I just didn't necessarily think he was straight line fast. There's a lot of raw to like there. There's more potential for him than I thought. Channing Tindall. We all knew he was going to test off the charts, and he did. He's just a very raw player. I hope that nobody overdrafts him based on what he did at the combine. You know somebody's going to because he's a height, weight, speed freak. If we were doing a post-combine freaks list, Channing Tindall would be on it. And then Brandon Smith. Brandon Smith was everything I thought he would. To me, he's a second-round pick. I've heard tale that that's not exactly how a lot of people view him, but I do. Okay. Malcolm Rodriguez is the other one I need to talk about. He's just so squatty. I think he's so scheme-specific. And he kind of fits into that joker, linebacker, safety hybrid kind of thing. I don't know that he's fluid enough to play safety, and that's what makes me nervous. But a lot of people were obviously very impressed with what he put out there over the course of the week.
I saw several attaboys as well for Damone Clark. At least as far as the testing goes.
Yeah.
The on-field workouts apparently were very good.
Yeah, the on-field was good. I do think he has a chance to go at the back end of the first round. I could see a path where he goes ahead of Devin Lloyd, and that's a mistake. Oh, Devin Lloyd ran. I don't care. I don't care. See how he plays. Watch the tape. Get away from numbers. Get away from Underwear Olympics. Devin Lloyd should go ahead of Damone Clark. I'm not as positive that he's going to. Other guys that DeMarco Jackson, that's a guy that I've liked for a long time. Leo Chenal had a good week. Now, you want to see the bad side? Josh Ross, he's now not a draftable player. Jesse Lakita did not have a great week. Tested really slow, and that makes me nervous. That's really the big, broad take. I mean, everybody's going to ask about Chad Moma because they just love him. He did what I thought he would do. Yeah. So there's really it's no stock up, stock down for him. He did what I thought he would.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, I mean, it all got underway on Thursday, and the wide receivers they set the stage. They set the stage for what was the fastest combine ever, right? I mean,
yeah, and there's some there. I'll just go ahead and tell you, there are some people that do what I do going, okay, I'm not quite so sure how much I believe all this. They had huge issues on Thursday. All of the times were grossly off when the official came in. And that it always moves 200ths of a second, somewhere in there.
But it doesn't move 8.
It doesn't move 1/10 of a second, which it did on a slew of guys.
Right.
And that there has been some talk as to how much can we really put into this. Was the clock fast? This is where teams are going to people ask me all the time, why do teams send guys with handheld stopwatches when you have electronic timing? Because at the end of the day, that's infallible. You know, the stopwatch is infallible. You got a guy that's been doing this for 20 years. He is quick and good on the button. I'm going to trust his time over the electronic 100 times out of 100. And I can tell you there were a couple teams that had really different numbers on guys. And so, now it goes to the pro day. And the pro days are even more fun because the team puts out the numbers. Right. And you'll have guys with stopwatches there. And this is going to be a weird draft in that a lot of people are going to have different numbers.
But with so many fast times, I mean, obviously we know that as the generations go on, we're getting bigger, stronger, faster. It's just the nature of the beast.
I'm not disputing that this is the fastest combine ever. I'm disputing some of the times.
Some of the times. Okay, and that's fine. But when you have, officially speaking, you had 8 wide receivers that ran times under 4.4, people are going to perk up. Mm-hmm. And then all of the rest of the times that we saw reported throughout the weekend were just unbelievable of offensive line. There were 12 offensive linemen who ran sub 540s. 12 of them.
Which is funny.
Do you know what the record was before that?
4.
For one combine?
4.
It was 6.
6.
6 ran that in 2013. That was the fastest class I'd ever seen. And then you've got,
the fastest of the offensive linemen. Oh, it was Dario Rosenthal, who's 6'7".
Yeah.
He had a very good week. Mm-hmm. His offensive line mate, Darian Kennard, he didn't.
Oh, I didn't even check his numbers. What'd he do?
This was not even a number thing. This goes back to the Senior Bowl on things that I've heard about Darian Kennard. If you've been paying very close attention, you can notice that Darian Kennard has been going down the board for me.
Yes.
I didn't have a great reason of why. I was just taking what I heard. Well, now I know why. At the Senior Bowl, the Lions coaching staff felt he was very uncoachable. He would lose, he would get beaten on a snap, and it's not like he was getting drugged down the sidewalk. It's just they were trying to tell him technique things, and he didn't want to hear it. And there's a guy like this every single year, and usually they come in and test poorly, and Darian Kennard did. Mm-hmm. So now I would say he probably falls somewhere on the back of day 2 to the beginning of day 3. He'll be one of those guys that as you're watching the draft, whether you're watching it with us, which I highly encourage, or if you're watching it with Mel Kiper, he'll be the best player on the board for a round. Mm-hmm. And you'll wonder, why is that? Well, because behind closed doors, there's a thought that he's uncoachable, and there have been some less than ideal reports on him.
With a great showing at the Combine, my question now has to go to, you've been saying that the Jacksonville Jaguars need to take Evan Neal number 1, no doubt, no question about it. My question to you now is, do you still believe that after the freak showing at the Combine by Ike Ekwonu? Icky. I don't know why I called him Ike. That was weird.
I don't either. That was weird. That was weird. Again. Ike Ekwonu is going to be the number 1 pick in this draft. Mm-hmm. He has the highest upside of any player in this draft. And look, this is not me letting a Combine sway me. I have now heard this so many times that I can't get away from it.
Yeah, you can't ignore it after a certain period of time.
And my fear, and I'm just going to say the same thing I've already said multiple times, my fear is that some team's going to try and play him on the left side. I don't think that's what he is. I do hear that Jacksonville wants to re-sign Cam Robinson. Mm-hmm. If you told me that you started Ekwonu as a right tackle, I can't say that that's not the right solution. He has a higher ceiling than Evan Neal does. I think he has a lower floor. But it's not by as much as I thought. Mm-hmm. He's just an athletic freak of nature.
I have thought since the jump that Ike Ekwonu probably not best suited for the left side.
No, and
the right side.
The measurables. See, everybody gets lost in the measurables. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the tape of he got drugged down the sidewalk as a left tackle at times in the ACC.
Yes, at right tackle, however, he's got all of the mobility. He's got the agility. He's got and now we've seen he's got the straight line speed with a 4.9 340. Mm-hmm. He's incredibly, incredibly strong. He's going to be a road grader for somebody in the NFL.
He will. I still think his highest upside is at guard, but I also think that's the fail-safe. This could he could have a career that looks exactly like Robert Gallery, where he plays on the outside. You just never see that mean streak that you saw in college. Then he does this a year or two in the league, gets slid to the inside, and you go, oh, there he is. Mm-hmm. I've found him.
Oh, and guess what? While he spent 2 years maybe on the outside, now he becomes a perennial Pro Bowler for 10 years.
Yeah, and that's I think he could be a Pro Bowler on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see a left tackle.
Right.
And for me, the thing I haven't been able to wrap my head around is how a team could take a right tackle knowing that, because I think anybody that does this really understands that. But you have to look at this class of there are not the high-end guys. All right, Kayvon Thibodeau is the most talented player in this class. I have heard nothing positive about him all week. So he's going to fall. Mm-hmm. And it's a question of, well, there's still 10 picks in the top 10. Just because there's not 10 top 10 players doesn't mean that there won't be 10 top 10 picks.
True.
And that's kind of where this falls in. And I'll tell you, since we're talking about offensive linemen, there's another one. And I'm telling you, I told you this when we did the head-to-head, and I'm going to tell you this now. Trevor Pennings's going to go higher than you think. Mm-hmm. Baltimore Ravens fans didn't like him at 14. Cool. You don't have to worry about it because he won't be there. I'll go ahead and satiate that one for you. You ain't going to have to worry about it.
Right.
Because he will not be there.
Right.
He is past Charles Cross. And I'm going to level with you. I won't be shocked if you pass Evan Neal. I don't think he'll go ahead of Aquano because there's too many places he can go. I won't be shocked if Trevor Penning goes in the top 5.
No.
I think his drop dead is Carolina at 6.
He had a great combine. There were other offensive linemen that had great combines as well. Cole Strange, Bernard Raymond.
Raymond solidified himself as a first-rounder.
And Zion Johnson.
Cole Strange is a second-day guy, but I would say he's a higher second-day guy than he was.
But you got to see why this kid, Cole Strange out of UT Chattanooga, you got to see why he raised so many eyebrows at the Senior Bowl. Mm-hmm. I mean, him and Bernard Raymond and Zion Johnson, they all ran in between 5 and 5.2 in their 40-yard dashes.
And all of this, and that just doesn't matter that much to me.
They were between 30 and 32 reps in the bench press.
That matters more.
Salyer, Jamari Salyer from Georgia, they were only 4 in the combine process, offensive linemen that lifted 30 or more reps. The 3 that I just mentioned and Jamari Salyer were the other one. And then the 3 that I mentioned, Cole Strange, Bernard Raymond, and Zion Johnson, were all in the top 8 of the 3-cone drill.
Yeah.
They all tested very, very well.
Yeah, Zion Johnson has replaced Kenyan Green as the number 1 guard in this class. Kenyan Green now will be lucky if he goes in the second round. Mm-hmm. And he is a perfect example of how the combine works. All right, so a lot of us had questions about Kenyan Green. He was a high-end recruit. I just never really saw the tape on him that jumped off the screen consistently. And then you come to the combine and you run slow and you don't look as nimble and all of those things, and it just compounds what I already thought. And so I do believe Kenyan Green, he didn't do himself any favors. I will tell you a guy that did not test super well, but I have heard more positive things about is Nick Petit Ferrer.
Yes.
He could end up going back in the first round, which it's funny for somebody like me. That's where I had him originally. And then I let things sway me. And then all the team information comes back in and it goes right back to where it started.
Right.
And there are guys like that every year. I do. That is where I look for him to land.
Okay.
In terms of other guys, I think Zach Tom represent himself very well. I think he's, with his flexibility, I think he could be a day 2 pick. At worst, he's very early in day 3. Dylan Parham from Memphis, he had a good week. There are people that think he can play center in the league. Versatility is a big thing in this league now. And I will tell you another guy, and the reason I thought about it is because I saw his offensive line mate at the very high side of this. Chris Paul from Tulsa he's a good player.
Yeah,
he's a day 3 guy. Tyler Smith is going to go in the first round.
Tyler Smith
is going to go in the first round, and I'm going to tell you where I think he goes. To the New Orleans Saints.
As the Teron Armstead replacement?
The New Orleans Saints are enamored with this kid. Enamored. And usually when you start hearing these things come out of the combine, and now I have the tangible of, hey, I saw your guy wearing the fleur-de-lis talking to him. Mm-hmm. You cannot hide from me anymore.
Right.
I think that's the high side for him. He could fall beyond that. They could fall more in love with somebody else. You never know. Garrett Wilson, who had a great week, he could be there. That could sway him. As of right now, I think he's their fail-safe. Worst case scenario, that's who we take, and somebody would have to fall for that to change my opinion.
Okay. Any other offensive linemen before we move on to the quarterbacks?
Of anybody that really changed my mind, not really. Max Mitchell. Max Mitchell probably falls now because he was so slow. And, it kind of confirms some things I saw on tape. I do still like the raw. I don't think he should fall past the round 4.
I saw a lot of people talking about Abraham Lucas as well as having a good day.
Yeah, we hadn't mentioned him. I'm glad you said that. He's a second-round pick. This is just where it's going to go. He's too big. He's too nimble. I don't know that he'll ever be a great run blocker, but I do love – he's the dancing bear. Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of teams look for. He's very nimble. And he showed that at the combine.
Yeah, he was another one of those. Too. Yeah, he was another one of. He was one of the 12 sub 5 second 40-yard dashers.
Yeah, he had a good week too. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's one that I had glossed over.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the quarterbacks because, of course, all of the talk was about Kenny Pickett. Him and his teeny tiny little 8.5-inch hands. And then, aside from that, I've heard about Malik Willis. Malik Willis did really well in the throwing drills.
There were 3 guys that really impressed, and damn near none of it had anything to do with on the field. It was Malik Willis, Sam Howell, and E.J. Perry out of Brown.
Okay.
And now, E.J. Perry is – I'm not sitting here telling you that this kid's going to end up in the day 2 considerations. I'm going to draft him and be a starter. That's not going to happen. I do think now he is a draftable player. I think he is – and you know what it came from? These are the things that I can't really quantify. It's kind of like Nancy Reagan used to say about porn. I can't tell you what it is,
right.
But when I see it, I can go that. Mm-hmm. Did you see the video that went viral with E.J. Perry over the weekend?
No.
So he was there Thursday. Quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends. They have a bench area that all of the players, that's where they congregate in between drills, get water, shit like that. E.J. Perry was the last one out of the building because he went all the way up and down the bench area and picked up every iota of trash that had been left. He did all of it. Now, that's going to sound really stupid to people. I'm not saying that makes him a draftable kid. That's a high character thing.
Yes.
And this is what the combine is. We put you in this little pot, this little pressure cooker, and we see what you do. Malik Willis with the homeless guy. Mm-hmm. Trust me, these things resonate with teams, especially with quarterbacks, because you're looking for a CEO of the franchise. When a guy that I thought would be a practice squad guy to a very lately drafted quarterback in E.J. Perry, I had him as an undrafted free agent in my last mock. I will not in my next one. Now you're a draftable guy, and in a class where beauty's in the eye of the beholder, you could see that guy. Look, is he going to go past the 4th round? No, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to get higher than that. Mm-hmm. But damn near every person I talked to just raved about him and how he interviewed and how he held himself and how he conducted himself. And then the workout was good. Yeah, he ran a 4.65. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I cannot get over is why can we not stop at talking about Desmond Ritter? Like, what are you looking at?
Well, I mean, everybody knew that he was going to test well. Right? I mean,
he ran a 4.52. Hot. He can't throw.
Right. He's extremely athletic. The problem is, is the arm NFL level?
No, it's not. No. I have watched. Let me just see how many quarterbacks I can name off the top of my head that I have watched. And I did not prep this before we did this. Let me see how many quarterbacks I can name that have done shit like this. And people have lost their mind. Not Tyler Huntley. Brent Huntley. Jordan Love. Christian Ponder. Jake Locker. Let's see. Let's keep going with. There are more. The kid out of Tulane. J.P. Lossman. I could do this for a really long time.
Yeah.
They look great in shorts. Here's the thing. We don't play NFL games in shorts, and Desmond Ritter is really impressive in shorts. He is really not impressive in pads. So if some team's going to overreact to it, I know it. I've known it the entire time. Some team's going to overreact. Now, I think the overreaction with Desmond Ritter is that he's going to go in the 2nd round. Am I going to be dumbfounded if a team trades back up into the back end of the 1st round thinking, that's our quarterback of the future? No. Mm-mm. And it will be a bust the minute you do it.
I have seen a lot of that. Don't be surprised if a team does do exactly what you just said, of jump up into the 1st round just to get Desmond Ritter, to get that extra year on the 5th-year option, all of that.
He's past Carson Strong, and I think that's a horrid miscalculation.
Mm-hmm. But Malik Willis did himself a lot of favors with his measurables, with his because I don't think he ran in the 40, did he?
No. There were only 8 quarterbacks, I think, that ran.
Mm-hmm. He didn't run in a 40. He will do that at his pro day. It'll be, we'll get all of that later. But with the viral video before the combine even started, with him and the homeless guy on the street,
every person that was in his presence he killed. And his football IQ was high. He got a 31 on the Wonderlic, which, by the way, you remember that thing where they said they weren't going to administer the Wonderlic?
Did they?
Oh, there's my. Told you it wasn't going anywhere.
Right. So apparently he tested well there as
he
well.
He crushed it. 31's a crush it grade. Mm-hmm. I do.
His arm strength really stood out in the drills, though.
It did with Sam Howell, too. To me, Malik Willis and Sam Howell are 1A and 1B, and they have been for as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could make the argument that Malik Willis should be the 1A now. He's still the 1B for me. But it's just razor thin because the high side on Malik Willis is just dumbfoundingly good.
Mm-hmm.
See, to me, it all falls into, and I lump Kenny Pickett into this too. All right, so over the weekend, a story came out that David Tepper is in love with Kenny Pickett and wants the Panthers to draft him. Cool, bust immediately. Yep. You mark my words, you do that to Kenny Pickett, he is a bust immediately. Now, Kenny Pickett winds up with the Denver Broncos? I don't feel that way. Kenny Pickett ends up with the Washington Commanders. I don't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely, Malik Willis winds up with the Panthers. You can bring him along slow. Now, why would Matt Rule do it? I have no idea, and that's why it's not going to happen. But that I would love, that you can be patient. You're not a contender right now. You know it. New Orleans Saints. It terrifies me for Malik Willis. Love it for Kenny Pickett.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh Steelers, they kind of scare me for all of them, but except Malik Willis. It's all a case-by-case basis. All right, so I can look at that because I got 3 quarterbacks that I think deserve to go in the first round. Howell, Pickett, and Malik Willis.
Okay.
You tell me the team, I'll tell you how I feel about it. And if you want to do that, you feel free to leave that in the comments. I'll go back through tonight. We're at the SoCon Championship right now.
Yep.
So after the Ingles 2022 SoCon Championship.
Good job.
I'm getting better.
Yeah.
And I will respond to those. You name the team, you name the quarterback, I'll tell you how they fit.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk tight ends real quick, since that was the last of the group that.
They crushed. By the way, the Shrine Bowl, next year I should pay more attention to that.
Right.
Of the 20 fastest times at the Combine, the Shrine Bowl had 12 of them. And now, most of them are not very good players, like Chig Okonkwo.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a great player, but he's got a lot of raw talent.
Mm-hmm. Chig Okonkwo, excuse me. Ran
Jelani Woods. That's another one.
Yep, ran a 4.52. Jelani Woods with a 4.61. He also did 24
He's
reps
also
on the bench
9
press.
feet tall.
Yeah. Greg Dulcich put on a show in his underwear. So
let me play a fun game with tight ends. So I've talked about how good the day 2 at tight end is.
Yes.
So I took a little straw poll. I used my guys that ran in Indianapolis. Who's your number 1 tight end? You know how many answers I got?
How many?
6.
Okay.
6 different guys, and Greg Dulcich was one of them.
So Weidermeyer likely.
Weidermeyer was not one of them.
Weidermeyer was not a 1 for anybody?
Weidermeyer did not have this has not been a good process for him. His football IQ is not very high. And that has been one of the prevailing thoughts. And look, he didn't say it to me. This is coming from people that had interactions with him. I am taking the information, putting it back out there for you.
Right.
There are a lot of people that are really worried that his learning curve in the NFL is going to be really high.
Mm-hmm.
He's freak athletic. But there is a lot of fear. Tight end's one of the hardest positions to come in and play. Very rarely do rookies ever have any kind of impact. And there is a fear that Jalen Weidermeyer is 2 to 3 years away from being impactful. Okay. I could see him falling to the 3rd round. I think Trey McBride has clearly passed him. I think Dulcich has clearly passed him. And then it kind of gets into beauties in the eye of the beholder of how you feel about Isaiah Likely or Charlie Kohler. And a slew of other tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
There is a path that Jalen Weidermeyer he does the same thing I said about, now I don't remember who the player was. Oh, DeMarvin Leal, where he's the number 1 player on Mel's board for like a round.
Mm-hmm.
He's the highest rated player. Yeah, because there are huge concerns about him.
All right. That's to me, that's fair. Jake Ferguson.
He did not.
Unfortunately, he didn't have a good week. He ran very slow at the combine, and all I have seen about him is like he will obviously he's still going to have a draftable grade. He'll probably still.
There are 20 tight ends in this league that are as athletic as a wet fart, but you know what they have? Good hands, and they just find a way to get open, and that's Jake Ferguson.
Yep.
To me, people overreacted from the Senior Bowl, and I'll be honest with you, I was as guilty of it as anybody. Now I feel like it's reverting back to where he should go. I still don't feel like he gets out of the 4th round.
Okay.
He's just one of those players. Does he do anything crazy well? No. Is he freakishly athletic? No. Does he catch passes? Yeah, he does. Does he do all the things you ask a tight end to do? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
The quote that I saw about him was that he can still be a quarterback safety blanket in the NFL, but he's not going to be an athletic marvel like some of the new generation tight ends we've seen.
Yeah, you remember who I compared him to?
I don't.
Mark Andrews.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And you know what Mark Andrews is not? Really athletic.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason he fell, because the tape screamed, this is going to be a good tight end.
Right.
You know who got that one right?
Yeah.
I was drunk on Mark Andrews.
Yes, you were.
And I still like Jake Ferguson. This is one of those times that people overreact to your testing grades. Let me ask you a question. How many times do you watch a tight end that lines up in line, which is what Jake Ferguson will be? How many times do you watch those guys run 9 routes?
Oh, never.
Then why in the hell do I care that he ran a 4.81?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I care? I heard somebody over the weekend, and this is a perfect transition into the receivers. Your 40 time is all well and good. That tells me how fast you can run a 9 route. I don't really care how fast you can run 40 yards. I care how fast you can stop. John Ross, he was like a semi. He could not. He couldn't shift. He couldn't turn. He couldn't do shit. So he couldn't get open. The only thing he could do is run 9 routes, and the problem is that he couldn't spot the ball over his shoulder. Hey, that's exactly how I feel about Tyquan Thornton.
Okay. Who ran a 4.28 at the combine? He took the top time for all the wide receivers, and everybody kind of lost their minds over it. And it's great.
Nothing to it.
Yeah, it's great that you can run really, really fast in shorts.
What do NFL teams, if you're looking for receivers, if the only thing that mattered was how fast you could run in a straight line, why do colleges not recruit track guys? I mean, they do off the football team. They don't just go to the track and go, hey, who can run real good? Because there's a lot more to this game than that.
Yes.
Tyquan Thornton's still a 7th-round guy at best. He's a developmental project that, he's fast as hell. He's not a good receiver. Mm-hmm. He's just not.
Now somebody will try to make him a kick returner maybe.
And that's fine.
Whatever.
He can do that.
Yeah.
That's worthy of a 6th or 7th round pick. I've heard talk of him going in day 2, and that is insane. If you take him in the second day, you are stupid.
You just set a pick on fire.
100%.
Yeah.
You just set it on fire.
Yeah.
Now, conversely, and look, the time was great. That makes you a draftable player in this league. That is what you went from a guy that was fringe pickable, priority free agent to now I know you're going to get selected.
Mm-hmm.
Yay, good for you. That's wonderful. You know who had great weeks? Calvin Austin. He had a great week. Really shifty, really athletic. To me, he's now a 2nd-round pick. But no doubt, certifiable 2nd-round pick.
Okay. I mean, there was some of that buzz coming out of the Senior Bowl about Calvin Austin.
He was very impressive. You know who else there was buzz at the Senior Bowl? Christian Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Had the best combine of anybody at the combine. He's now a 2nd-round pick. That's what he is. Garrett Wilson had a great combine.
Yeah.
Alec Pierce is an athletic marvel.
Both of the Ohio State receivers had a good one.
Olave's was not as good as Garrett Wilson's, but it was but it was good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sky Moore had a great week. George Pickens had a really good week. For him to run a 4.47 as being just a giant human, you're a back end of the 3rd round guy.
Yeah.
Conversely, guys that were disappointing. This is where having unfettered access is really good because I've heard a lot. Oh, he had a bad week.
Trayvon Burks.
Yeah. You know what I heard from people that were actually there? There are teams that have him number 1, and his workout didn't do shit to change that.
So he has now gone to the number 1 wide receiver in his class for some teams.
On some teams' boards.
Right.
He ran a 4.55.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's 6'2", 225. He's a good route runner. He's got great hands.
And huge hands, too. I think, what was it? He measured like 11-inch hands or something?
They were very big, but I don't remember how big they were. Tremendously.
I remember seeing it, and I think it was 11 and some change, and I went, holy smokes, that's big for a wide receiver.
Yeah, and this is one of those guys that some teams will push him down because, he only ran a 4.55. Okay. And?
Yeah. What have you seen on the football field? I've seen nothing.
I love the tape on him and always have, and apparently he was the best interview in Indianapolis.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, I'm not great at this. I'm not a professional scout evaluator or anything like that. But the film that I have seen on him and the games that I watched in real time of Traylon Burks told me that kid's a superstar.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: none of us are professionals. There's just some of us that have done it for a really long time, and we've come to a point where, hey, I've seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
I've read this book before of the kid that gets pushed down because, he didn't run a 4.42. Okay, what did I see on the football field? A great player. I can tell you right now the Jets are in love with him. I think his high side is 10 to the Jets.
Mm-hmm. Others that I saw as losers.
David Bell.
David Bell
did not have a good week. And he's one that, if you remember, as I've done mock drafts, he's gone in the second round just because the tape on him is so good. But I can never really quantify what he is. And he falls into that same trajectory of, if it takes me more than two sentences to explain how you're going to be a really high-level player in the NFL, you're probably not going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a back end of the second, beginning of the third option for a young quarterback.
I would agree.
I like him in Arizona. I like him in a slew of other places. Do I think he's going to be, if I was ranking the receivers, where would I say, impact-wise, I'd say he's 10 or 11. They're just a slew of guys that I like better.
Yep. So David Bell, he was one that did not get glowing reviews after his combine, and I think that's fine.
It is. It is, and people are not going to. David Bell pushed himself down a little bit. A guy like Velus Jones pushed himself up. So, and I like Velus Jones. He's hyper athletic. He's really raw. You got to be really patient with him. But he had a good week, and now I would say he's in that end of day 2, beginning day 3 range.
All right, last position group that we haven't talked about yet is the running backs.
Yeah,
and there wasn't a lot of hype about the running back class.
I don't know who you were talking to. There was a shitload of hype around it to the people I talked to.
Really?
Kenneth Walker crushed it.
Uh-huh.
Pierre Strong crushed it.
Right.
Breece Hall crushed it. Devontae Price. Hey, you remember that name? That should sound familiar if people watch the show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Crushed it.
Mm-hmm.
There were not many guys that had bad workouts. There was one.
Who?
Tyrod Williams.
Really?
Ugh.
I saw him on a pro list.
They were fucking drunk. He ran a 4.65 at 5.9 and a quarter or something like that.
Okay.
In the last 20 years, there have been 4 running backs that had ever run 4.65 or worse at 5.10 or shorter. I'd never heard of 3 of them.
Yikes.
Kyron Williams was the 4th one.
That's not good.
He hurt himself tremendously.
Right.
And I'll be really honest with you. Here's the thing I don't understand. Running back specifically, if you know you're going to run like that, why did you run?
Mm-hmm.
Just don't do it. We'll revert back to the tape. You can run at your pro day where you can control everything.
Yeah.
I feel like he got bad advice. I feel like several guys got bad advice. Kayvon Thibodeau.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who's giving you. I don't know who's telling you to do things, but you can run, get rid of them, find somebody else.
But I thought his problems weren't on the field. His problems were in the interview room, right?
Who?
Kayvon.
Yeah, he was not well liked.
Yeah.
Damien Pierce, he didn't run particularly fast, but he put on a whale of a little workout.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes very difficult to figure out what to do. Like I don't really know what to do with you. He's very thick, but he's a little short. He's not crazy fast. I don't really know what to do with you. He's a football player.
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing I will say. Now, the battle to be the number 1 running back is going to depend on who the team is, because Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall are insanely close.
Right.
I would still take Breece Hall, but I'm not going to fault you for taking Kenny Walker.
Well, and I think that goes to your inclinations when it comes to running backs. You like the guys that can do everything.
I do.
And Breece Hall he's the catch-all guy. He's got the straight line speed. He can catch out of the backfield. He's done great things. Kenneth Walker obviously has done great things as well at Wake Forest and at Michigan State. But to me, he's the pounder.
To me, Kenny Walker has the ability to be a member of a 2-headed backfield and be the head of the snake, but I don't feel like he can be the whole snake.
Mm-hmm. I
feel like Breece Hall can be a 3-down, every down back. There are not many of those in this class. Pierre Strong now, I think he slides into the 5-ish range among running backs.
Okay.
Running a 4.37, great workout. Ty Chandler, there's been a lot of talk about Ty Chandler. I was not as wild about him. The workout was very impressive. I think he's in that 4th round discussion now. I've heard people talk about him in the 2nd, and that's stupid. But then again, for me, the 2nd round it's Breece Hall and Kenny Walker, and end of list.
Right. Breece Hall was the only one that I heard great things about as far as these are the guys that showed out at the combine, because I think the numbers were so great for everybody else.
They were. I mean, and that's why the Kyron Williams thing looked so bad, is that he was, I mean, hell, he was a 1/10 of a second slower than damn near every running back, and he ain't real big. There's just not a lot to like there. But there's a lot of depth at running back in this class. There are a lot of, if you need a piece in your backfield, there are a lot of guys that you could fall in love with, and I would get it.
So the question now becomes, when is Jeremy's next mock draft?
Well, free agency kicks off a week from today.
Yep.
That's the legal tampering period, or whatever the hell they call it. I get confused league to league. Basically, deals can be negotiated starting Monday.
Yes.
They cannot become official until my birthday, which is the 16th. So the rest of this week we'll be putting out free agency predictions. And I'm not going to add sure to go wrong, because that's what every douchey person that does what we do.
Right.
Yeah, predictions sure to go wrong. They're not sure to go wrong, or there would be no point in watching them.
Right. Could go wrong.
Could go right.
Probably is going to be wrong.
Never know.
But you never know.
But we'll do those team by team. We'll start with, and apologies for being late on putting these out. It's been a crazy couple weeks, but we'll start with the Norths tomorrow. So that'll be Tuesday, depending on when you're watching them. So Tuesday will be the North. Wednesday will be the Wests. Thursday will be the Souths. And Friday will be the Easts. So we're going the opposite direction of where we went the first time.
All right, look forward to all of the free agency and draft pick for each and every team.
It's the best time of year.
It is.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Good. Let the hate flow through you.
Once again, we always appreciate everybody for joining us here in the Ingalls studio, and check us out at thesportsocracy.com.
I'm here for the gangbang.
I wanted to. I saw the button and I wanted to hit it, so I did.
I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene, and we will see you next time.
Narrow fucking basket.